Welcome to Football Fans in Finance. As usual, we'll ask you before we start to like, share this video, click notification bell so you know when we drop a new episode. Today, we have quite a lot in store for you. Return of European football, Champions League and Europa League. Obviously, the EPL, some teams continually doing well. In the case of Chelsea, and some floundering at mid-table level. And also we'll take a little section in terms of the end of an era. We've seen the decline of Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. Both of these titans have been ousted out of the Champions League, and it's the first for many years that the quarterfinals round won't have one of these players playing in. So let us start off with the Europa League. Man United at death, at settle for a draw.
Yeah.
I know you're very disappointed with that.
Yeah.
Before you start, that's the first that's ever been said. Let's start off with the Europa League. But go ahead.
It's fresh in the mind,
Yeah, the team just not good enough, right? The manager not good enough. We really fail if I think we started with the right back line. My issue was around the midfield. So Matic and Scott McTominay, it's never worked before. Well, we tried that combination and we tried it again today and it failed again. It let us down. Milan's midfield is where the game was won, and one player, I can't remember the name of the player.
Dude with the locks, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, he play some ball, man.
Black ball.
Play some ball.
Mete or Kesse?
Kesse. The man with that tear in midfield apart. I just watch the man and all man says, I hope we bring in this man because the man is doing what Scott and Fred try to do every week. The man is doing what Scott and Matic trying to do. I mean, Matic used to be able to do it very well. We saw it a lot of times at Chelsea when he just started at Man U last season a little while. But I think, we got the best of it. And, well, we didn't get the best of him, but we got the end of it, right? And I think, he's past it. I don't think Scott McTominay will ever be there. I don't think he's a defensive midfielder. I think we've seen glimpses when he's gone forward, but nothing in terms of from a defensive side, in terms of positioning and all of that. Fred still don't play the ball well enough for me. The manager got it wrong as well. We made some changes. We brought on Amad Diallo, a player that I have always been raving for from day one. And, I don't think he's ready yet. I don't think the fans need to put unnecessary pressure on him. But he scored a brilliant goal today. But outside of that, his performance, to me, was still a little immature. We saw glimpses of brilliance, but sometimes, to me, it was him just say, all right, I'm going to destroy this player and embarrass them. Did a bit of that, and that's good for the fans. But at one love, probably we could have been more productive. The manager went wrong where, at the end of the day, we had 8 defensive-minded players against a Milan side that was pressing. And what you saw is that we could not transition the ball from back to front. There's at no point we could put Milan back under pressure. And we had fairly quick players, right? So we got it wrong there. And to score another goal from a set piece again, Matic lose the marker, Scott ducking the ball, and Dean Henderson, I think he should have saved it. The ball came directly to him, and I think De Gea has gotten some unreasonable stick. I want to just mention it.
I hear that coming. I hear that narrative coming out after the goal.
No, I think De Gea has been getting some on this. When I listen to Paul Scholes, Roy Keane, all of these players about De Gea, David De Gea, all this time, unnecessarily hitting out at him, not strong enough. And David De Gea has been probably, our best servant, since the last time we win a Premier League to now. He's won Player of the Year before. He had a season and a half where he was poor. Everybody can admit that. But this season so far, there's probably maybe one mistake you can really blame him for. But he saved our blushes many a times this season. And Dean Henderson, while he's a good keeper, he's not better than David De Gea at 30 years old. So I think, today kind of should cool that down a little bit. But overall, the team was poor. We're playing at home. our setup was poor. The structure of our midfield was poor. The tactics was poor, and we were outplayed by an injury-prone or depleted Milan side,
So
which is a problem for me.
I'll agree with you, right? I think the tactics was poor because I was taking glimpses of the match, and you're right. Milan was pressing, and United was pressing, or trying to press also, but Milan was successful in terms of beating the press. They played some good-looking stuff while United looked a bit lost.
Yeah.
I think though, even though I admit that you should start a stronger side I guess it depends on what your value you put on the Europa League, right? Probably always say I'm coming second anyway, probably have him eyes for the title. But I really feel like, Man U at home should have been the more dominant team. I will say though, Man U got some gilt-edged opportunities that really should have put the game to bed. I mean, it would have spared the coaches blushes, but the tie should have been over before AC Milan actually equalized in injury time. So I think those chances should have been taken. So
I agree with you, Kevin. I think we got two clear-cut chances that we missed. And it just goes to show the quality of the players that we have in terms of getting goals. Harry Maguire has been very poor in terms of in the box. He's gotten on the end of a lot of crosses. And I can recall probably one or two times where it's actually executed in terms of scoring a goal. One against Newcastle and maybe one another time. But he's been very poor in terms of actually being productive in the box. And we see it again today with an empty goal. Dan James, it is what it is with him. Right? He's just not at a level, or he's just not of the quality. He's I mean, we were saying it before the show, he's a very simple player. But even with those two chances, right? And this is a problem that I have with Manchester United in general. On another day, we'd have scored those two chances. Let's say if Rashford was playing, or we had Cavani, we'd have scored those two chances, we'd have won 3-0. But when you look, it hides a lot. When you look at the balance of the game, and you look at how our midfield was overrun, and how Milan was able to press successfully, was not a function of the back line, but more a function of the midfield and not being able to transition from the midfield to attack, right? And Matic with Pogba beside him looks much better because there's a lot more comfort in terms of somebody moving the ball forward. Matic with Scott or Fred beside him doesn't look that good, right? And Matic is more comfortable in just sitting back and allowing Pogba to go forward because he knows Pogba will create. But when you sit with Scott McTominay, Matic probably feels he has a little more responsibility to create, and that's the problem, right? And I think Matic don't have the legs at his age right now to do everything,
Matic done.
Yeah,
Blue factory.
Yeah. I mean, I'm being nice about it, but you're right, he's done.
Right,
we need to move from there.
But question, all right. What we have seen from Manchester United is that the home results have been somewhat ordinary, but they seemingly do the job away. In the round before, they actually won the tie away. It was away to Sociedad, although it was a neutral ground.
Right.
And we have seen that recently with Man City away and throughout the Premier League. So probably this disparity between playing away and playing at home is what we're seeing now. You would expect a great club like Man United to handle business at home and get results away, but seemingly they're handling business away and squeezing out some results at home.
So I think the issue is, right, my opinion is the mentality of how you play. I think we play the same way home and away, and that's a problem. In other words, when you go away, the other team thinks the impetus is on them to attack you. Man U is very good at counter-attacking. So what happens is that if we're able to beat the press, we have very quick players up front and we score. Now once we score, the other team is automatically under pressure to score, right? So we're leading, and that plays right into the coach's hand in terms of counter-attacking again. So playing away from home helps. When you're at home now, teams tend to sit back at Old Trafford and say, okay, attack us. And we don't have the creativity, especially with a missing part, with no Paul Pogba, the coach not using Donny van de Beek. We don't have the creativity in the midfield. It lacks a lot because Scott and Fred, again, I repeat this every time, it's just not good enough. And, Bruno can't do it on his own. The ball don't get to him enough. the team can literally man mark Bruno and say, make Scott and Fred do it then. And we know nothing will come out of that. So what you have to get at that point in time is some moment of brilliance from a Marcus Rashford or a Mason Greenwood or a Tony Marshall. Because we know we're not going to get it from Dan James, right? So that is literally why, to me, what explains, the disparity in the home and away form.
Who have more goals this season though? Dan James or Tony Marshall?
More goals? I'd have to check.
But
that's a problem.
But that is a problem. So Tony Marshall has had a bad season by his standards, right? By any standard, to be fair. But he's a quality player, and what he provides outside of goals is important. So when we look at him in the Man City match, his hold-up play, his turn in his movement on the ball, his playing off of the ball was excellent. I think everybody would agree with that. He got a chance that as a striker, as a number 9, you have to score. So one-on-one, you have to score. No excuse. So for me, this season has been poor for him from a goal-scoring perspective. But other aspects of his game in terms of hold-up play, I think we have seen some good hold-up play and pressing from him as well.
All right, I'm still with the Europa League. Arsenal and Tottenham got results.
Yeah.
And we have seen that Bale seemed to found his gear, and Tottenham has played much better. Incidentally, London derby is on the horizon for both clubs.
Yeah.
Danny, last time we had our show, was still unhappy with what was going on with Arsenal. The volatility within the club. 1 minute they get a result and you swear that they turn the corner and then bam, Burnley hold them. Will they remain a 10th? Can they try to push for Europe, or can they actually aim to win the Europa League this season?
This is the only way of getting to Europe. There's no way they are going to get into even the top 6. It looks scary at this point in time. I'm sorry Danny isn't here for a couple of reasons, right? Because I think in some respects, all of us here owe Gareth Bale an apology, right? But I think Danny was most vocal about it. So we owe Gareth Bale an apology, right? So Gareth Bale was sorry. You turn the corner, get it right,
Mr. Gareth Bale,
yeah.
My apology, my sincerest apologies to you, sir. You're a quality player.
Yeah. But I think Arsenal, there's a structural weakness in the team, right? Mm-hmm. But there has been some improvements in terms of performance, right? So Danny, if he was here again, I'd ask him to apologize to Willian, right? He made some statements, and since he's made those statements, Willian has turned the corner. Yeah. Probably that's what he needed to hear.
But even before, right? Because I was here for the last episode, but I watched where he said, we'll bring on Willian and concede 2 goals, right? And I fact check him, so he wasn't right. They scored one of the goals before Willian came on. But Willian did lose the ball for the second goal.
I'm saying, come on, Danny. So Willian has been performing, but you're right. You rightfully put it. There's a lot of inconsistency in the team.
Yeah.
The team is just not good enough. If Lane can say the team is not good enough, just think about Arsenal, right? It's true.
Yeah.
The team is not good enough, and then ironically, I saw Arsenal actually launch their new kit.
Yes.
And I see Willian featured prominently, and I'm like, this man is a staple at this club. This man is going to be here for a long time. But I think Arsenal are where they are based on the team that they have. They can, on their day, produce a good result. We've seen it against Chelsea, we've seen it against Manchester United.
Yeah.
But no team is really no other team is actually going into an Arsenal match and be like, we're going to sit back. They think they can go and get a result against Arsenal, which is a problem, right? Yeah. Because the defense have a mistake in there.
Yeah.
If Aubameyang is off it, you're going to struggle for goals. As good as Pepe has been in terms of him getting into decent position, him still lack a bit of cutting edge at the end of all of that. So they struggle for goals. They struggle to create chances also. So the truth is, teams will go to Arsenal and think they can get a result, and it has been happening. And I think Arsenal, to me, needs some investment. Danny don't believe it happen, and it don't seem like it happen. But it's either the fans change your expectation to match the board, or the board change their expectation to match the fans, and I think it will be the former that needs to happen.
Well, sorry, I'm just, looking at Arsenal, but I was thinking about it. When you look at Chelsea, Kevin, you probably look and say, okay, I need 2 or 3 more players. I mean, even when you did a wholesale change, you say, I never need as much players. I could have integrated 2 or 3. I look at Mane and say, if we get 3 players that start choice position, defense, central midfield, and maybe a forward or a right winger, some attacker, we're probably challenging for the title as well with the depth and improve the depth. With Arsenal, I watch Arsenal football and I say, Arsenal need at least 8 to 11 players. And it's no disrespect, but they're playing football in such a way that it looks good. I think, I've been watching the team, and I don't think Mikel Arteta is doing a bad job. I just think he doesn't have quality players. He's used to players at Man City, right? And he has players that aren't as good.
Yeah.
And literally, we see chances coming in the box. I saw in the Europa League match, chance came in the box within the first 2 minutes, then kick it wide. He's used to a chance coming in the box at Man City, Raheem Sterling tuck it home, right? So that's what he has to play with. Now, if in some games they don't have the quality, they don't have the chances, but I watch a few games against Burnley. They should have been up 3-0.
It's ridiculous. That was ridiculous, honestly.
Saka missed so many chances, and that's another problem where they depend
Pepe come on and miss chances, yeah.
They depend on a 19-year-old to get
Saka
it.
have a bad game, you're not getting it right, which is a problem.
Against Wolves, it was Saka again missing these chances, and I'm saying Arsenal fans, some of them at least, are blaming Saka and say he's missing these chances, but he's 19. He needs to actually develop as a player to where he should be in and out of the squad getting rest.
Yeah, man. He should be playing with pressure, without that amount of pressure that the club actually depending on him.
True,
Actually, if you really look at it, if you look at the consistency over the entire league, Saka has been the best player. He's definitely player of the year. He's definitely,
without a doubt,
in almost all of the matches that he plays, him can come off of the field and hold him head up high.
Yeah. So to me, Arsenal actually needs like massive. I mean, they bought Thomas Partey. They have Aubameyang, who to me, he's edging on a decline, and he's kind of one-dimensional in my mind. And they have Saka growing, but you need at least another. And I guess they could argue Tierney, but the rest of the squad there's a lot left to be desired, So I think they have a lot of investment to make to improve. If you look at it, they finished 8th last year, but they won the FA Cup, so they went into Europe. This year they've been floating between outside of the first month where Danny had a lot of talk. He's
chest out,
chest out, chin up and chest out, right? Now he's back in his little shell between 8th and 10th, and
and he was dangerously floating above relegation at one point.
Yeah, so I mean, and it's not. He's a fan, but he wants the best for his club, and I think the players, a lot of them just aren't good enough. That's just the reality of it.
All right.